I want you to imagine a group of people who've been at a campsite for a long time. You know anybody that lives at campsites? My uncle recently sold his house and lives at a campsite. Uses the RV. Actually, my uncle, Tammy's uncle, does that, so lots of people do. But what has meant to be temporary slowly became familiar. They learned how to survive there. They knew how much food they needed. They knew where the food went and where little spot and crevice, everything. You had a place for everything. If you ever done RV camping and have a perfect place for everything. They knew what to save and what to use. Everyone had just enough. And everyone knew exactly where their own supplies were. But eventually, the call comes. It's time to move. The next place is ready. The journey won't be dangerous, but it will require everyone to travel lighter than they're used to. So packing takes longer than it's expected. Not because people are disorganized, but because every decision feels important. What do you keep? What do you let go of? How many of you moved houses and kind of gone, that's a great time to purge? My brother actually, he used to do this with his kids. They pretended they were moving every year. Because then they would purge out a bunch of stuff, right? So, what do you let go of? As they prepare, something small begins to happen. Quietly, almost unnoticed. People start setting things down. Not everything, just a little. Someone may offer extra food. Someone else realizes they can carry less because someone nearby has more than enough. No announcements are made. No one calls it generosity. It just becomes easier to move. By the time they actually leave, no one really can point to the exact moment where they've broken camp and journeyed. But everyone is walking forward. Turns out the camp wasn't broken when the tents came down. It was broken when the people loosened their grip and moved forward. So we've been talking and we've been in this series called Breaking Camp, and we started with what it meant to have pioneering hearts, and we talked about what it meant to have courageous hope. There are seasons where people stay, where people feel wise. You know the routines, you know what you have, you know what to expect, but over time it feels like something else is going on and God's calling you to something more. And wisdom can quietly become fear. In the book of Deuteronomy, God speaks to a people who are no longer wandering. They're not yet settled. They're on the edge of the promise. And before they go in, God addresses something deeper than geography. He addresses their heart. Because how they enter the land will shape how they live in the land. How they enter, how they go in, how their heart is as they enter the land will shape how they live in the land. And one of the clearest signs of whether they have truly broken camp is how they hold on to what God gives them. See, God's concern was that they would begin to be self-reliant and not have gratitude. Listen to his warning in Deuteronomy 8. When you have eaten and are satisfied, be careful that you do not forget the Lord your God. You may say to yourself, my power and the strength of my hands have produced this for me. Notice, God is not warning them about poverty. He's warning them about forgetfulness. Forgetting what God had done. Forgetting what God had shown them. Forgetting what God had provided. Forgetting how God had done something powerful and great. God knows something about the human heart. When we forget where our provision comes from, we start holding on to it too tightly. The scarcity mindset says, I barely have enough. A prideful mindset says, I earned this. I did this all by myself. Remember how your kids used to do that? I did this by myself, right? Remember that? Those days?
No.
Yeah, one day. But both lead to the same outcome, closed hands. But God's people are called to live differently. Humble generosity flows from, I forgot the flows from apparently. Humble generosity flows from remembering. Remembering that God provided something. Remembering that God provided manna and provided it, did something. Remembering what God has been doing. He says in Deuteronomy 8:18, remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth. Generosity doesn't begin with abundance. It begins with memory. Humble generosity remembers God carried us when we had nothing. God provided before we even knew how to ask. God has been faithful longer than we've been aware. When we remember and think about all that God has done in and through and for us, generosity becomes an act of trust, not loss. You don't give because you're sure you'll have enough. You give because you trust the one who provides daily, time and time again. And then again in Deuteronomy 15, God speaks directly about open-handed living. He says, if anyone is poor among you, fellow Israelites, do not be hard-hearted or tight-fisted. Notice the language. Hard-hearted, tight-fisted. Remember the story of the monkey that reaches in to grab a banana in a jar and he can't get it out? Have you ever heard that story? You know how to catch a monkey, right? Here's how you catch a monkey. You put a banana in a jar. And then you make the opening where he can slide his hand in and he'll go in and grab the banana, but the fist now he can't get out. And he'll stay there trying to get that banana because it's what he really, really thinks he wants. And so he'll pull on that and pull, and his arm and his hand won't come out. All he has to do is let go of the banana and let go, and then his hand will slide out. But the fist causes his hand to be bigger and to take up more space, and so it won't come out. A poverty mindset doesn't always come from lack. It comes from fear. Fear says, what if I need this later? What if I don't get more? What if I give and regret it? But God invites his people to break camp from fear-based living over and over and time again. This is what he's been saying to his people. Get rid of the fear. Get rid of it. Because it's not doing you any good. You can't have courageous hope if you live in fear. You can't have a pioneering heart if you live in fear. And you can't have humble generosity if you live in fear and are tight-fisted. In Deuteronomy 15 he says, give generously, because for this the Lord your God will bless you in all your work. This is not transactional generosity. This is relational trust. Now it's interesting. I think I have this right. Yep. Consumer versus contributor. God has called his people to be contributors to each other, to society, to the church. But too many of us live as consumers. Listen to this. 78% of all believers of Jesus Christ operate primarily as consumers rather than contributors. But get this. Contributors report 340% higher life satisfaction. That's a big jump. In other words, people who contribute and give and share in so many different ways. People who do that are more satisfied with their life by 340%. Think about that. That's mind-boggling to me.
Can you repeat that, please? Sorry.
Contributors report 340% higher life satisfaction. My life is good. I enjoy my life. I'm grateful where I'm at. Life is good. People that contribute, whether it be finances, whether it be time, whether it be talents, whether it be whatever, people that contribute are 340 times higher. That's not right. 340% higher life satisfaction. Life is good. Think about that. But we live in a culture that says it's better to be a consumer. Don't believe me? Watch TV, watch Netflix, watch YouTube for less than 5 minutes. These things called commercials, right? The whole point is to make you a consumer. To make you a consumer and to get and to take and to see what all you can get. So most people in our culture and world live as consumers, but God has called us as churches, as Christians, as followers of Jesus, to be contributors. Here's the difference. Consumer Christianity focuses on what you get from God in the church. Measures spiritual health by personal blessing and comfort. Views church as a service provider for spiritual needs. Sees kingdom work as someone else's responsibility. Lives for personal fulfillment and individual blessing. Do any of those feel like they might? That you know somebody that fits into that? Here's what contributor Christianity is. It focuses on what you can give to God's kingdom. It measures spiritual health by impact and service. It views yourself as a minister with a specific assignment. You've been gifted. You have specific calling. You have specific things that you can do to help things. Take personal responsibility for the kingdom advancement. You live for God's glory and kingdom multiplication. It's crazy. How many people choose to be consumers, thinking that if it's all about me and I become all of those things, then it's going to be so good. But the reality is the best way to see what God can do in your life is to be a contributor. So here's what humble generosity looks like. First, it gives without drawing attention to yourself. Doesn't announce, doesn't compare. It simply responds to God's grace. It simply says, okay, I have this opportunity to give, and maybe nobody even knows it. Maybe nobody even knows that I'm doing this. Maybe nobody knows that I'm experiencing this, but God knows. It's not about drawing attention to yourself. I like this one. Oops, wrong way. Second, it gives from gratitude, not guilt. It gives from gratitude, not guilt. Think about that. You ever had somebody that has given you a present, maybe you did for Christmas, maybe somebody bought you a Christmas present, and you kind of go, I didn't get them anything. Now you feel guilty? If you've never experienced that, y'all are lying to me. Right? Because we all have, right? We have all experienced that in some way or another. Often, oh man, they got me a gift present. And so we feel like we have to go get them, and it's out of guilt. What if our minds had changed and said, hey, man, I'm so grateful for that gift. And if God lays it on my heart to give them a gift, I might give them a gift. If I feel like I want to give because of just I'm grateful for the relationship and grateful for who they are in my life, then I'm going to give a gift. There's a lot of freedom in that. There's a lot of freedom in giving out of gratitude rather than guilt. There's so much joy in saying, hey, let's give out of response rather than out of, oh, I have to do this. Because I'm telling you right now, you start living and giving out of guilt. You'll give so much and you'll give, and then you'll resent everybody and you won't be any better off. And you'll be loved. I had my good friend that we were visiting this week, he said sometimes you have to say no to somebody in giving so that you can give long term over the long haul in other ways. Does that make sense? So sometimes you have to say no. So if somebody said to me and came to me and said, you have $1,000, Pastor Ben, and I needed to do this big project. And I go, okay, let me give it all to you. When the next person comes, and there will be others, I probably won't have the ability to give like that because I don't have that $1,000. I may have given it to somebody that's good, but the thing, what I'm pointing out is that sometimes we put boundaries on our giving because then it helps us to be able to give in the long haul. And I can't solve this person's needs and issues all at once because when the need arises later on and continues on, sometimes those boundaries help us to be able to give in the long haul and keep giving and keep being able to multiply and keep being able to focus and keep being able to help people in other ways. Okay? Third, giving should be forward, not backward. Generosity is not clinging to yesterday's manna. Remember the Israelites? God provided daily manna, daily bread for every person, and it was just enough. It would be kind of weird for somebody, an Israelite, to go, I have yesterday's bread that's already turned sour, so let me give it to you. Because they try to hold on to it and cling to it, right? Generosity is not clinging to yesterday's manna. It is trusting God for tomorrow's provision. So this is what it means to break camp. We loosen our grip on what we've been tempted to hoard, and we open our hands to what God is up to next.
Could you say that again?
Yes. We loosen our grip on what we're tempted to hoard, and we open our hands to what God wants to do next.
That's right. That's right.
The call is for you to give away. Here's what you can give away. Give yourself to God. First and foremost, give yourself to God. Romans 12 says we offer our bodies as a living sacrifice. And Paul tells us to give ourselves over to God and to surrender to God and to give our hearts to Jesus. Jesus tells us to love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. That's yourself. Give yourself first and foremost to God. Respond to his love for you. Respond to who he is, for what he's done for you. Respond to what he's done on the cross. Respond. Then give your ears. This is hard for a lot of people. Give your attention. Give your attention. Give your ears. Listen. Sometimes just say thank you to somebody that's sharing. Give your attention and your ears. Give your speech. What if you were to had a generous speech mindset? You gave away encouragement. You gave away gratitude. You expressed thanksgiving to people. You gave away words that build people up. What if you gave away with your speech your faith? So when we share our faith, we're being generous with what's inside of us, and we give that away with our speech. Give away your finances. Yes, I don't necessarily mean everything. God calls us to be wise and do specific things. I can't talk to my lips, or so do I. God calls us to do these things and but He calls us to give away our finances. If I try to make a big difference in the world, if I try it by myself, I won't make that big of a difference. But if I want to multiply my impact, one of the best ways for me to do that is to give away finances. Think about that for a moment. Lots of you know that I'm a fan of the Chosen TV show, the series The Chosen. And they're impacting hundreds of millions of people around the world. Life has been changed. Life has been doing new things for somebody. Thanks to it. I did have a bottle, but I can take that. And there's no way that I can reach and share the love of Jesus with 1 million plus people. And yes, I have given to the Chosen small amounts. I don't have a lot. I give in small amounts, but I know that by giving finances, it has multiplied my impact for the kingdom. So in a way, by giving finances to the kingdom of God, to the things of God, to the things that are moving, whether it be the church or another thing, to give away, that means your impact is multiplied. Last, give away your time. Serve. Grow relationships. It costs time to grow relationships. It does. It takes time to build that trust. Disciple others. There's lots to give away. And by the way, I'm giving you an opportunity to give away encouragement today. After the service, you see a table over there that has a poster. And one of our new friends that is part of us coaches 2 Special Olympics teams, 2 basketball teams. And I said, is there something that we could do? And she said, because I was, you know me, I'm the Ridgefield High School football coach that provides Gatorade and water. You all right? So I'm thinking, can we get you some water or Gatorade? She's like, no, there's plenty of that. But a poster with people signing it saying, go Cougars, go Wildcats, that I could hold up for them would mean more than anything. So you gotta help me give that away today, if you choose to. You gotta help give that away by simply signing the board and writing a quick note and saying, have fun, go get them. And then those Special Olympics teams will see that and be encouraged, and so it's a great opportunity for us. So when Jesus watched the people at the temple, what did he do? He didn't praise the largest gift. He praised the widow who trusted God with what she had. Generosity is never about the amount. It's about the heart that says, God, I trust you more than this. It's about Jesus did not give out of surplus. He gave himself. And every act of humble generosity is a reflection of his heart. Some of us have stayed at camp for a long time. Fear of not enough. Fear of the future. Fear of letting go. But God is inviting us forward. Humble generosity says God's been faithful. God is with me. God will provide. It's faith-filled living. It's remembering and gratitude. And this morning, as we do on the 3rd Sunday of the month, we participate in communion. It's a time of remembering how God has given to you and given his Son. And communion here is is for anybody who is choosing to follow and is responding to Jesus Christ. And so this morning, as you come and take the elements, you can grab them and hold them, and then we'll take them together. But it's a remember, and then you can ask God, God, you were generous with your son. How are you wanting me to be generous? So I want to encourage you as you take communion to think about and remember what God has given you.